Today on the news and why it matters, the DOJ administrative review into the origins of the Russia investigation has taken a major turn into a full-fledged criminal investigation. We got a lot to talk about. It starts right now. Happy Friday. Welcome to the news and why it matters. I am Sara Gonzalez, today joined by Stu Bergier, Pat Gray, who is thrilled to be here.
Love it.
Thrilled to be here.
Yes.
And Giancarlo Sopo, thank you for coming back.
Great.
It's always great to have you. Got a lot to get into, but first we want to thank our sponsor, Genesis 950. Pat, you're a tried and true believer in Genesis 950.
Absolutely. You know, I have, not only do I have a dog in the house who has no manners whatsoever.
Really?
But I have something called grandchildren. So we get lots of stains on our carpeting, and I don't worry about it anymore because the Genesis 950 concentrate just cleans it right up.
Yeah.
I mean, it's awesome. It is by far the best stain remover I've ever used.
It really is. So if you're thinking about replacing your carpets or anything like that, or maybe you're like me and you just got a new puppy in the house, and the first accident she had, I was like, thank God I have Genesis 950 because I'm going to be using the crap out of it in the next 6 months.
Literally using the crap out of it.
Thank you, Pat.
Get that out.
So you can go to, it's available on Amazon. All right. So if you're really lazy and you do all your shopping online on Amazon, you can do that. But you should probably just kind of give us credit for it. You can go to genesis950.com. You will also get a free spray bottle and a discount if you use promo code BLAZE. That is genesis950.com. Don't waste your money replacing your carpets. Try Genesis 950 first. Genesis950.com, promo code BLAZE. So the Department of Justice administrative review into the Russia investigation has, of course, turned into a full-fledged criminal investigation led by U.S. Attorney John Durham, who was appointed by, of course, Bill Barr. And it's interesting because I did see on Twitter that impeach Barr was trending. So, you know, I mean, why do we don't need investigations. We needed the 2-year, however much taxpayer money we spent on the Russia investigation. We needed that. The other investigations, though, we should just not do those.
Yeah,
we should not do those.
This is, you know, it's a tactic, right? I mean, like the impeach Barr thing. Like they're trying to say, you know, obviously you can call Trump a partisan in this situation. He wants to defend himself, and then they went to Barr, and they're like, he also just a. You can't do this with John Durham. I mean, he's one of the most respected investigators you're going to be able to find. He did stuff. You know, he was one of the guys that was involved in the torture investigation back with the Bush administration. He's gone after both sides. He's very well respected. If this guy has found something, he's found something. So that's kind of a big deal. And I think, you know, this is, you know, I've looked at this what we know so far of the Ukraine thing, and I don't think it's an impeachable thing. I've made the case here on that many times. The way they've handled it, though, I think has been pretty poor. You know, trying to focus on the quid pro quo and all these lines. They've drawn like 10 red lines, and every day there's a new piece of information that walks them over another one. This is their best defense. Their best defense is to show that there's a lot of crap going on. You know, show both sides of it. It's one of the things that Glenn's tried to do with Ukraine. It's, you know, and just show the facts of the other side, because there's a lot going on there. And if you have a legitimately well-respected investigator that's going to go in there and say, you know what, this stuff that went on with this Russia investigation actually was shady. There is criminal activity there. I think they have a good way to present this to the American people. What we've heard about what might be coming out with this investigation seems to be much worse than anything they're going after with Ukraine.
And I will point out, I want to bring you two gentlemen into the conversation, that the DOJ guidelines do say that federal investigators must have a reasonable indication that a crime has been committed before they can even open up an investigation. There must be an objective, factual basis for initiating the investigation. A mere hunch is insufficient. So sounds like they have something pretty conclusive to at least investigate.
And my guess is it's nothing conclusive against Donald Trump. This is going to be something conclusive against somebody pretty juicy on the Democrat side. And then they're not going to be so excited about this investigation anymore.
And it's already starting. So the Times actually said that the move is being seen by many that Trump is using the Justice Department to go after his perceived enemies. So that's their spin. Rachel Maddow also covered this on her show yesterday evening, and here was her little spin on why this was happening. Watch.
I'm going to start right out of the gate tonight with some breaking news that has just come in from the New York Times. This is the news that honestly we've been sort of expecting for some time, or thinking that if things got really bad, it might come to this. As of tonight, according to the New York Times, it has come to this. As you can see, this is the headline just posted at the Times. Justice Department is said to open criminal inquiry into its own Russia investigation. And I'll quote to you from the article. Again, this just posted tonight. Quote, President Trump has repeatedly attacked the Russia investigation, portraying it as a hoax and illegal, even months after the special counsel closed it. Now, Mr. Trump's own Justice Department has opened a criminal investigation into how it all began.
They knew this was coming, guys. They knew. Yeah. They were just waiting. If things got bad, they knew that Donald Trump would try some crazy little thing, underhanded scheme to just make up things.
Yeah, and I think it's clear that the Justice Department has immense latitude in terms of what it chooses to investigate. And clearly what happened here is that this is an investigation. I'm all for getting to the bottom of what happened with the Russian interference in the election, but clearly this is an investigation that started under some false pretenses, and we really do need to get to the bottom of what exactly was it, where did it originate from, and where was the FBI being misled by political partisans?
Yeah. Now, if I might just float a theory out here, at the same time that we learn about this criminal investigation taking place, Michael Flynn's legal team just filed, I think it was like 37-page filing in court, alleging that FBI agents manipulated official records of the National Security Advisor's 2017 interview that led to him being charged with lying to investigators, which is a felony. And it's pretty, to me, it seems pretty solid if we could go through some of these tweets, and I encourage everyone to go and check out these documents, because these tweets list the documents in here and it highlights the relevant parts. But it says that Lisa Page allegedly edited the Flynn 302. Now, a 302 is the official summary of the agent's interview with whoever the suspect is. So also that James Clapper told a Washington Post reporter to basically, quote, take the kill shot on Flynn. It also includes new Lisa Page, Peter Strzok texts, where Strzok tells Lisa Page, I made your edits. And they talk about misleading leadership, about picking up the 302. They also talk about that they left the interview thinking to themselves that Flynn did not lie. And then they kind of tweaked it later on. Agent notes say that Flynn wasn't sure that he spoke to Kislyak on the UN vote. And then they changed it in the 302. The 302 says different. The 302 says that he stated that he did not. So a lot remains. There's a couple more tweets here, but a lot obviously remains to be seen in this. But based on what we know with the whole Lisa Page, Peter Strzok, relationship and all that's come out on that, kind of leads me to believe that this may have something to do with this criminal investigation that's taking place, maybe part of it.
Yeah, it seems like it would be odd timing. I mean, I will recall that Michael Flynn pled guilty to this. So, I mean, maybe I would like to, we got to see how this comes out. It could be that he felt pressured or whatever and felt like it was just the right thing to do. We'll have to see as that plays out. The one major problem I have with this, and is why I don't think anyone should go down this road, is my wife's name is Lisa Page. And she's not that Lisa Page, but she is named Lisa Page. And
so here it all comes again.
And here it all comes again. And now every time I turn on do you know how weird it is to see your wife's name trending on Twitter? That is not a comfortable feeling.
God, what happened?
What the hell happened? I will say too, she has a podcast called Lisa Page Made Me Do It, which is going to get misinterpreted in this scandal, I think. Because Peter Strzok is probably going to be tweeting that like crazy. Lisa Page made me do it. I don't know. This is all kind of breaking information. I think this is the right road for them to go down and show that, look, at the very least, people will come out on the other side. This is just talking politically. At the very least, people are going to come out on the other side and be like, well, both sides are all a mess, and I'm just going to pick the guy who I think is going to lead or lady that will lead the country the best way.
Yeah.
And that's where Trump needs to land, I think, when it comes election-wise after this.
Yeah, I also think, honestly, this story has gotten incredibly confusing. For 99% of the people.
Yeah, it's going to be hard for the average American to digest.
Yeah, like it honestly is like people have lives, people have things to do, and this story just keeps playing out. It kind of reminds me in some ways of like the OJ trial, where at some point like the prosecution's case against OJ got incredibly complex on like DNA evidence, and they started explaining the whole science. People just tuned out.
Yeah, that's a great point. Like, people just kind of threw their hands up and just said, well, I like him or I don't, and that's kind of where people came down.
Yeah.
Pat, I feel like if we could come up with some other definition other than deep state, when we're talking about government officials working together, on the inside to target someone else in government, take Trump down, whatever the case may be. I feel like if we could give it a different name that didn't sound so conspiratorial,
Americans. You're talking career politicians.
Right.
Career bureaucrats.
Yeah, bureaucrats. People who've been in the State Department for 30 and 40 years.
It's just not sexy, though.
It's not sexy, but deep state does sound so conspiratorial. It's like what Obama always went to with the birther thing. Anytime he was in trouble, they brought up the birther thing to show how conspiratorial the other side was against him. And then that tended to, at least to them, they thought that smeared everybody, painted everybody with the same brush. You're all conspiracy theorists if you believe anything about Obama.
To kind of like look at the Trump part of this, though, for a second, I think it is important to look at. There are a lot of these guys like Taylor. It was a career bureaucrat. He was the ambassador to Ukraine previously, but he was also hired by Donald Trump. Like a lot of these times we throw this like, oh, these people are they're just State Department people. Well, he picked a lot of these people, and they're winding up saying these things about him. And I think part of this, it goes deeper than whether he did something right or did something wrong. Trump has done two things that I think one of them is his fault, which was really before there was anything to do with the intelligence and the deep state. He started talking about it publicly and calling them like members of the Nazi Party. And like that does not make you any friends in the community. We said that at the time. I remember over and over again, like, look,
stop picking fights with
don't pick fights with people that have every piece of secret information. Like it's not a good idea. That part of it is his fault. What's not his fault is that because Trump doesn't come from a traditional base of support within the Republican Party, he was forced to sort of choose when he was putting everything together from two buckets. One, loyalists, which he tried, and a lot of them were really erratic, and a lot of them got fired, and a lot of them he doesn't talk to anymore. And then the other side were sort of like generic Republican people in government, and those people never liked Trump. They didn't like him in the beginning. They didn't support him through the election. So he would wind up having to put a lot of those people in important roles. And when they, diverged from each other in policy, a lot of them knew that they didn't like it and wound up kind of keeping records on the things that they didn't like. So he doesn't have a lot of loyalty from these people. They were kind of people who were just doing their jobs. And, you want that. You want to have, you don't want someone, I don't want to insinuate you want someone who's going to lie for you or be illegal or do, like you don't necessarily want, Rudy Giuliani comes to mind. You don't need Rudy Giuliani in these roles, but you do need someone who's at least going to agree with your policy and kind of embrace it, even if they don't fully agree with it. You're serving the President of the United States, you're serving our American foreign policy, and that comes from him, whether you like it or not.
Yeah. Do you feel bad for these attorneys, these people who get put in charge of these investigations? Like Bill Barr, I feel terrible for him. It's like he's hated by half the country. He's like, I was just trying to do my job. Durham, the same thing is going to apply to him, whether or not whatever he finds or doesn't find, one side or the other is going to call for his head. I feel so bad for them. I wonder if, I guess you can't like pass. Like if they're like, hey, can you handle this? And he can just be like, I'm going to pass on that.
Well, you can.
Can you?
You just have to do it before it starts. Like, Mueller was like this. Like, where Mueller came in completely respected by both sides, right? But these people were assigned to this.
Jeff Sessions.
Yeah,
he recused himself.
Well, he recused himself, right?
To him.
Yeah, that's true.
By the way, Taylor, this guy who did all this big, testimony behind the scenes. A, didn't want to take the job. His wife told him absolutely do not take the job, and he took it anyway. And then here he is. So I guess
Is he still married?
I think it's listening to your wife. I don't know. It's a good question.
All right, back in a minute.
Apparently, that's a good idea. I don't know.
It is.
It is?
Yeah.
Is that confirmed?
Spoiler alert.
Really?
Yes,
Oh, wow.
absolutely, 100%. Before we get back into it, we want to thank our sponsor, Relief Factor. So if you are one of many Americans who you just live in constant pain, maybe you are getting up there in age, I don't know, I'm not judging. Maybe you've had some sort of accident, maybe you're a runner, I don't know, whatever the case may be, all I know is I, myself, have reached the age where things hurt. Like I get out of bed and pull a muscle. And it's very depressing. But Relief Factor is there for those of you who you just got that constant pain. Maybe you've tried prescription drugs, they haven't worked for you. Maybe you've tried, massage or acupuncture, and you just keep feeling that pain. Try Relief Factor. It's 100% drug-free. It targets the inflammation in your body, which usually is the root cause of your pain. You don't realize it. It's the inflammation that's causing your pain. We've had so many listeners and so many viewers writing in, especially to Glenn. I know he shares them on the radio show all the time. They are writing in saying, Relief Factor changed my life. Because if you are in pain all the time, you know how life-changing it could be to just get out of pain. Also, your spouse will thank you. You can go to relieffactor.com, try the 3-week Quick Start Pack. It's $19.95, and the majority of people who try it, they go on to keep ordering more because it's working for them and it's changed their lives. Let it change yours. You can go to relieffactor.com, get that quick start. It's relieffactor.com. A couple days ago, we talked about Representative Katie Hill's political problems. She had a somewhat bizarre
That's one way to put it.
photograph leak of her sitting in the nude brushing a young staffer's hair.
My
all
boss
have.
has never done that to me. Really? Yeah, no.
I'm glad you clarified.
Yeah.
Oh,
because it's
Glenn,
something you
how
can
often has Glenn done that with us?
Only 3 to 5 times a week.
A week, yeah, about every week.
So weird, so weird. Well, now there's a House Ethics Committee inquiry being launched into her behavior. More photos were released yesterday. There's one where she's nude again. This woman does not like clothes, apparently. She's holding a bong in one of the photos, and then another one of her kissing a staff worker. Lady's got some issues.
Yeah, that's a great way of putting it. I don't, it's one thing to get into politics and then start living crazy and get caught. It's another thing to be living crazy and then decide to go into politics. It's such a weird choice if you're going to be this person who has fights with former, lovers, and these photos are out here. And it brings an important point to the table, which is there are approximately 5 people on Earth that look good in naked photos. You are not one of them. I don't know, Pat. No offense. Giancarlo?
No, definitely.
If you were watching this right now, no offense, you're not one of them. Unless you happen to be at the Victoria's Secret headquarters, then you can start making different decisions. It's just not a good policy to point a camera at yourself without your clothes on. Don't let it happen. Don't let anyone else take a picture of you. These are easy, safe steps. Because honestly, with this, if it wasn't for these photos, what would we have here? Some former staffers making accusations, an ex-husband saying crap. Who knows if that stuff's true? Yeah. Beyond the fact that it's not a good idea, and there's a lot of moral issues and political issues here because you get yourself compromised relatively easily when these photos exist. All that being said, the easiest step to take is don't get nude photos of yourself in any context at any time. There's never a good reason for it.
But especially with a staffer. Yes. With a congressional staffer when that's against the law. Don't do that.
That's probably
also a bong.
Also a bong.
Maybe that too.
It could be problematic.
I would also add, just as the female at the table, I would also add just one little little asterisk to what you're saying. If you are to take a nude photo,
yes.
Don't let them do it from the bottom going up. You're never going to get a flattering. You're never going to get a flattering picture that way. You got to you got to angle down.
You got to angle down. It's
Katie,
the
what are you
selfie
thinking?
angle.
Thank you.
I'm not sure there's any angle there that would have mattered in that department, but it was interesting because she was denying all this.
Yep.
Yeah.
She was saying, "Oh no, he's abusive," and none of this is true. And then he's got photos to back up absolutely everything he said. It's shocking, really. And this is the first woman to ever be investigated for this in Congress.
Yeah.
We wanted equal rights.
Now
we got him.
You are the same. We all are the same.
I think people can do whatever they want with their personal lives. I think it's inappropriate to do with a staffer. What I thought was also kind of strange is that apparently she has like a Nazi white cross tattoo on her
that
hip,
too. Yeah.
which I thought was kind of
again,
strange. You know?
I saw that headline too, and it's like, it can't be a Nazi tattoo.
No, no,
like, there's no reason to believe.
I'm sure
I
it's
mean,
not.
she could be a plant still.
She could
we
be.
don't
That's
know.
true. I mean, I guess it's also like a biker symbol too, right?
Yeah, like I'm sure it's not, but I do think the whole thing is kind of peculiar.
yes,
You know.
that's a word for it.
That's a great way to put it.
I mean, could she last through this? I mean, it does. I mean, as a Republican, we all know she would have already resigned,
Yes.
right? Like if this was a Republican.
Oh, it's
So
California people.
It's California, maybe.
Not only that, but it would have actually been in the mainstream media.
Oh, it would have been a huge story.
I haven't seen it anywhere.
And we made this example before. Can you imagine if Ted Cruz was naked through direct Russian staffer's hair? There's a million reasons why that's absurd.
No, thanks.
But I mean, he would have been out immediately. Any Republican, I think, would have been out immediately. I don't know, because it's not just the affairs and the lying and the photos. It's the Me Too thing, I thought, right?
Yeah.
Like you're not supposed to even have consensual relationships.
The
with
power
people.
dynamic.
Yeah.
The power dynamic
happened to
there.
that?
It's just, she can't consent because of the power dynamic.
Can't consent. Can you? I mean, is there a more demeaning thing you could say
So
about somebody?
stupid.
What do you mean you can't consent? Someone who's
She's
25
22.
years old. This was
Come
22.
on.
Yeah, 22-year-old person can't consent. I've always hated that argument because it's like, you know, like they're like Monica Lewinsky. She was just an intern. It's like, well, she was an adult too. She made a decision. She wanted to do this. She enjoyed it at the time. She liked it at the time. We can all retroactively slide this into the Me Too, lane. But in reality, she was an adult, and this is like the most dramatic thing ever. This is the president of the United States. Women are not, helpless little victims of everything. Like they also have choices. They also have the ability of their own free agency to make their own decisions with their lives, even when they're only in their 20s.
Well, it is interesting too because they say that when it comes to the Me Too movement that women can't consent, but you've also got 7-year-olds being given puberty blockers
That's a good
to
point.
consent
wow.
to change their gender. You've also got a movement to try to get little girls to have abortions without the consent of their parents, so they can consent then. But now all of a sudden they grow up.
Yeah, they want to lower
and
the voting age to
they
what,
can't consent.
16?
Yeah.
But yeah, when they get to be in their mid-20s, God forbid, they can actually say yes or no. I mean, look, the Me Too thing envelops way too many things. It really should be focused on forcible sexual harassment, right? It should not be focused on consensual relationships, like the whole Kamala Harris thing, right? Kamala Harris is an underling of Willie Brown, right? And they have this whole thing, and it probably helps her in her career, and there's a lot of reasons to have a problem with that, but to act as if she's the victim of some Me Too thing is not appropriate. It's not right. Like the bottom line is women get to make their own choices too. It's not just guys. We don't get to tell you when you get to make your own decisions, when you can and cannot consent. That's total bullcrap.
I also saw really quickly there's a new study, they do these campus sexual assault studies where they say, like 99% of females will be victimized by sexual assault on this campus, but yet when you look at the criteria that they include for sexual assault, it's like
A guy winking at you in class.
if someone accidentally like brushed by you or something, and that counts as somehow assault. So those are always very skewed.
Yeah, I'm just glad when I went to college, none of this was like a thing.
Yeah. I don't know how people date anymore. I'm so glad I'm married. I'm like, I don't know
me
how
too.
anyone would do it.
Terrified.
Terrified.
I mean,
You'd have to have your date sign a contract before you guys went out.
I know.
That like they wouldn't come back later and sue you for something.
The president
file
of the
charges.
United States, President Obama, go in front of people and tell the American people that American colleges have a higher rape rate than the Rwandan genocide. That is legitimately something that came out of his. He didn't say it in those terms, but the stats he used.
1 in 5.
1 in 5, and I think it was 14% of women were in the Rwandan genocide were raped. No, first of all, obviously we all know that's not true, right? Like every single one of us, intuitively we know.
Yeah.
Secondarily, and much worse than like cities like Detroit and all the worst crime areas in America. But we all know this isn't true, number one. Number two, why the hell are parents sending girls to college?
Right.
Like, keep them, go on the University of Phoenix, take it online. For God's sake.
We'll be back in a minute.
It's like, it's so, and they just keep saying it as if it could possibly be true.
Before we head into overtime, don't forget, if you have not bought a raffle ticket for the Mercedes-Benz that's being given away at the M1 ball this year, you got to go buy one. Also, the live auction, it's online right now. You can bid on all of the items that they have. They've got some amazing vacation getaways. They've got essential oil diffusers for hippies like me. They've got all sorts of stuff. And if you're in the Dallas area, join us at the M1 ball. It's tomorrow at the Omni Hotel. These two guys will be here. You should come too. Mercury1.org/M1 ball. Overtime starts next.
Can I wear a tuxedo t-shirt?
Yes.